Hello, and welcome to the Ontic Connected Intelligence Podcast. I'm Manish Mehta, Ontic's Chief Product Officer. Join us as we delve into valuable insights and practical advice that will empower you to navigate the complexities of modern corporate security and risk. We're here to share knowledge from experienced leaders and innovators in the field. All right, get settled, and let's dive in. Today, we're welcoming back Allison Makalik, Director of Solutions at Ontic. As a reminder, Allison is a seasoned leader with over a decade experience in pre-sales and solutions engineering field. She founded the WISE chapter at Salesforce.org, coaches with the Pre-Sales Collective, and co-created 4 Under 3, where she co-hosts the Imposter Talks podcast and facilitates Fight Your Imposter workshops for ERGs worldwide. We're also joined by Elda Baez, the Senior Safety and Security Specialist at Hub International, where she supports critical programs such as workplace violence prevention, threat assessment, travel risk management, event security, and protective intelligence. Elda is an active member of ASIS International ATAP and a certified mental health first aid instructor through the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. Last year, she launched a mental health first aid program at Hub, certifying 75 professionals, creating on-demand training, and hosting awareness webinars, bridging her passion for security and mental well-being. Please join me in welcoming Allison and Elda to the Connected Intelligence Podcast. Allison, you know Elda. Elda, you know Allison. I'm actually going to turn it over to you. Allison, you have such a passion for mental health. Why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thank you, Manish. Hi, Elda. So good to see you again.
I'm so glad to be back.
You know what? Me too. I remember when we were planning the summit panel and we were talking about then how great this would be for a podcast, and it happened and it came together, and I love it. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for having me back.
Of course, you're incredible. And I will be honest, I think about you at least once a week, if not every day, because of a really powerful quote that you shared during the panel. And I'm going to share it here and then we're just going to dive in. You said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Goosebumps. I mean, that's amazing. What made you want to say that? Where did you hear that? How does that really come into play with the work you do in mental health every day?
Yeah, so that is actually one of my grounding quotes. And every time I think about the impact of the work that I'm doing, I myself reflect back on it and I kind of have my old check in with myself. And again, that's one of the quotes that kind of helps ground me and do the work. Again, just to make sure that I am being impactful, that I am making a difference, and that I'm not just living out of a routine. So I kind of adapted this quote during my uh, journey and training as a mental health first aid instructor. So I heard this, and it was really in the core of, you can have the fanciest title, you can lead the biggest team, meet X, Y, quotas and KPIs. But really, if at the core of it is not caring about what you're doing, what are we doing? So again, that's just something that I take with me day in and day out, both in and out.
Allison, I might add that quote to our home office here and back at corporate headquarters at Ontic. It's beautiful.
I think so too. I think we should tell all the auditicians that, you know how on Ted Lasso and they have believe and they hit it when they go in, we should
Love
do
it.
that in our kitchens.
I
Let's do
love
it.
it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, okay. So you mentioned mental health first aid. For those unfamiliar, or maybe that's a new term for anyone listening, can you explain what it is and why it's so important in the workplace?
Yeah, so just to take it back a step, we've all heard of first aid training, first aid certification. And it's kind of the training that teaches us what to do if someone is having a medical emergency, choking on something, how we can support. And many times in the workplace, we end up taking a role where we get very close to our colleagues, our peers. And many times it opens the door for sharing of personal lives. And again, we talk a lot about, work-life balance, but sometimes that transpires, into being vulnerable, which is a great, great strength. But really, mental health first aid is learning how to apply tools and resources to provide someone with help during a mental health crisis or challenge until professional help arrives. The reason that I think this is really important in the workplace, again, it's because we, spend so much of our time at work. We spend a lot of, our hours, our daytime with our peers. And when we do begin to have these sort of connections, it can be really hard to kind of differentiate the line, again, tapping into how much we care with the resources that are available. So I think this is a really, really great program that a lot of organizations such as Hub, we've adapted it already. But again, just taking it one step further and kind of aligning what the goal of fostering a supportive environment and a culture that really hones in on more than just EAP resources, but really on the main message of supporting someone during these difficult times.
Yeah, I want to dive in on how you brought it to Hub and how you were able to certify 75 frontline HR professionals. I want to get there. But did something happen that inspired you to go through your own certification? Did something happen at work or in your life that you can share?
Yeah, of course. So again, just mentioned vulnerability. So if I may, I actually during COVID had my own time, as many of us did, of realization that our mental health had maybe taken a back burner. And again, I was a brand new mom of two, and I was trying to just find my way as we all were, and then COVID hit, right? So it kind of triggered a lot of things where I was like, okay, I can't keep putting this off. And that really just inspired my own journey into the self discovery, healing, but also how I showed up in the workplace. Again, as I mentioned, a lot of times we hear bring your whole self to work. And during that time in my life, I was like, I don't think I can because it's not the prettiest self. And again, just spending so much time at work, but also trying to navigate that balance between my home life was a challenge. And so that really inspired me to, once I began doing my, my journey, my healing, to really just see what else can I do? Because in my mind, I was like, I can't be the only one that is kind of trying to balance all of this. It's a lot. And so really it's just been kind of, a way of giving back and, having resources accessible to people that I wish were accessible to me during that period.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being vulnerable. I remember COVID, I had had my son, and then I went through IVF with my daughter, and it was the craziest time ever because no one could really help you. Even giving birth, no one could help. Like, and we didn't have anything like that at the company I was at. And I just imagine like if that had been something for me, but you actually did it, right? Like you were like, I need this and we're going to have this now. I didn't even do that. That's incredible. Like, talk to us about, okay, so you realized you needed this help. You realized you needed something more. What was it like in developing and launching this mental health first aid program at Hub? Like, were there challenges? Was it easy? Talk us through if someone was inspired to do so, because obviously I needed it. I just didn't do what you did. So that's why you're here. Talk us through it.
So with Hub, I actually feel very, very fortunate to be, it's kind of like all the bricks just laid out at the perfect time. And I had learned of mental health first aid from a previous organization that I worked in. And I was actually signed up to just take mental health first aid training, but the wait list was pretty long. And then, long story short, I ended up joining Hub shortly after that. And I was speaking to our chief safety and security officer about a lot of the initiatives. At the time, we were doing personal safety awareness webinars, and mental health awareness month was coming up. And so I just kind of brought up this idea of, do we have this? Like, is this something that Hub offers? I just hit my 2-year mark at Hub, so I was still kind of figuring things out. And we had this conversation where he was very supportive of like, are you interested in taking the training? And I was like, there's no wait list. Like, absolutely. So in the time that we were planning for our mental health awareness webinar, I also underwent not just the basic mental health first aid training, but he also said, how would you feel about becoming an instructor? And we kind of had this broader conversation about the impact that it would bring to the organization and kind of how it would support other initiatives that we had going on. So of course I was all in. Again, I feel very, very fortunate to not have only his support, but our executive team as well. So the ride getting to the certification for being an instructor was pretty smooth. And I think a lot of that just goes back to the support that my team, provided for me. but also the drive that our team has. So I've worked very closely with the HR team here at Hub International. And again, they are people that care. So again, they know all the resources, they know everything that's available, but they have this true passion for putting the human in human resources. So again, it was smooth. I think the logistical part was a challenge. And again, given that we are spread out across 600 offices in the US and Canada, the logistics part was kind of a heavy lift. But here we are.
Oh my gosh. Manish, have you ever heard of this program before?
I have not, but I completely understand. COVID was certainly one component of our lives, but having been in the workforce and in corporate America for almost 20 years, this has been necessary for a long time. And I'm so glad that you brought this forward. I know we're going to have a question for you coming up of how do others, especially for our listeners, set up a program like this, but maybe talk a little bit about the success stories that you've encountered, and then we can delve into what advice you'd give to our listeners to set up something similar.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to hear back is feedback on how the program is being taken into the different regions and businesses that we serve here at Hub. I actually had the opportunity to co-host a session with one of our HR leads in Canada a few weeks ago, where she talked about what she's doing with the training and how she's leveraging it in the way that she shows up for her business. So, her strategic work, it's not just about providing EAP or providing this, it's really about getting to the core of what an individual may need. So it's not looking at people as statistics, it's not looking at them as another number or someone that, may be missing the mark, but really like looking at the core of how can we support this person? Um, and I'll just say this. So mental health first aid is most effective as an early intervention tool. So similar to when you have a broken bone or an injury in your body, the longer that you delay, getting treatment for that, the longer that the recovery may be. So with mental health, it's also looking at how can we support employees early on to kind of aid some of the things that may be going on that may be attributing to, excuse me, to a mental health challenge or a crisis even. So again, seeing how she has taken this training and just launched and ran with it in her region has been so impactful to hear. And she shared stories of employees who she was able to support through this time, and saying, again, we could have just sent out EAP, but really getting to the core of what do you need? Everyone is on a different, path. Everyone has different things that they need to take care of outside of work, but really like analyzing that early on and providing those resources has been great. So that, yeah, that's been one of my favorite things to hear, is just how people have kind of used it as an early intervention thing to kind of prevent things from escalating.
Okay, so you've certified 75 human, but the human in HR. I love that in human resources. Gosh, you're just so great quotes, just left and right, girlfriend. I love it. So 75 HR professionals have gone through this program at Hub. What's the certification like? Like, what are they? Is it time intensive or is it ongoing? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have had, outside of the just the passion and dedication for it, we also have had time, commitments that people have had to go through. So the certification, again, it's through the National Council of Mental Wellbeing, and that goes through a pre-work. So it is kind of like a self assessment that people do in the beginning, which is around 1 or 2 hours of self-paced work online. And then it is followed by a 7-ish hour course live with me. So again, we kind of keep the groups somewhat small to make sure that we are having engagement, that we are having the right space to be able to share, to be able to have, rather than a monologue, a dialogue around mental health and how, our HR business partners can take this on. And then right after that, they do like a post course certification exam, and they receive their certificate. So I love seeing all of them just post, their certificates online on LinkedIn, again, to kind of spread the message that, Hub really is intentional about, going above and beyond.
That's amazing. Then how do you get this resource and these, certifications out to all your employees to let them know this resource exists for them?
Yeah, so we've actually built out internal web pages for our employees. So we have one specifically dedicated to mental health first aid and mental health awareness. In that page, we have crisis resources. And again, these are all completely confidential, non-trackable links. We have the list of resources like our learning series. So for employees that may not be able to commit the full 8 hours plus, we do have 4 learning series that kind of cover basics of the mental health first aid course. Again, this is accessible to all 20,000 employees, but we've really honed in on having, HR be our frontline group to kind of take this full training out into the organization.
Hey everyone, Manish here. This is a great conversation. If you think so too, check out similar topics in other episodes linked below. Feel free to explore additional resources and share your thoughts. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Wow, 20,000 employees. So you have 75 certified today. What's the goal? What's the future look like?
Yeah, so we actually have later on this month, we have additional cohorts that are going to be happening. So we just keep on going. Outside of that, we've also heard a lot from our managers. So with mental health first aid, one of the big things in it is knowing and understanding your role as a mental health first aider and not carrying on the burden or the weight of providing therapy or resource. So mental health first aid does not certify anyone to diagnose or treat mental illness or anyone going through a mental challenge. Rather, it provides tools to be able to connect to appropriate resources and professional help while also maintaining boundaries, especially in the workplace. So again, we want to make sure that we are providing the care and providing the resources to employees that may be in need, but at the same time, understanding that we are not asking 75 HR leads to take on additional roles of providing therapy. Again, we want to make sure that those lines are clearly defined. So that's been really key.
Allison, I'm sold. I am sold. Now, my question, Allison, maybe for you to think about is what are our listeners thinking about? Are they equipped to build a program similar to this? I don't know. What do you think?
So that's what actually I was thinking too, just for Ontic, for our company. Like if we wanted to bring this to our company, or for anyone listening, they want to bring this, what's the best first step?
Yeah. So I would say even thinking about it is great, because again, it may there's a big difference between thinking and doing. So thinking about it is really the first step and having that drive and that initiative, which I see for both of you. And again, looking at websites such as the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, which offers trainings, whether that's individual or for larger groups. There are, courses available. There are instructors that are committed to doing this as their full-time job. So they're able to come out to organizations and provide the training. Or again, there are people who just kind of like a one-off, which is what I did initially before becoming an instructor, is I completed the training on my own and then went through the actual instructor training to bring that internal.
Amazing. We're going to put that link in here for the show notes so everyone can access it. But I'd love to get your thoughts on, let's say someone is so passionate, obviously, like we all are here today, and they want to bring this to their company. Are there any common misconceptions about implementing mental health programs? And have you seen that? And do you have any advice for overcoming that kind of mindset?
Yeah, so I think as we all continue to move the needle forward with mental health, again, it's a very broad topic, but really going back to understanding the role of someone as a mental health first aider. So sometimes, leadership teams may hear that and say, "Well, again, my team is already focused on these business goals. I don't want to make them or make them feel like they now have to, provide this type of help." So the mental health first aid action plan, which is referred to in the program, covers five steps to do. So it's active listening, which we can all kind of practice day in and day out. Listening non-judgmentally. Giving reassurance and information. So again, giving reassurance and information is more like giving hope with facts. So not just saying it'll get better or making promises that we can keep. It's really providing the information and letting people know like you are not alone. There are resources for you. And then that leads into the last 2 E's of LG, which are encouraging self-help and encouraging professional help. So again, one of those things in understanding that from the training is really valuable to define, again, those roles of we're not here to diagnose or treat anyone, but we're here to provide that support as employees may need it.
Gosh, You are my favorite human in the world. I love how you have that memorized and just it's like you can see that you live this every single day. Like it's not just something that you do, it's like a part of you. It's so inspiring. Oh, I love it. Real quick, so you mentioned how at Hub you there was no wait list and you said everything just lined up and you had leadership that was really on board. Is there anything that you would recommend for maybe others listening? Maybe they are leaders or they want to go to their leaders of, making sure this is prioritized or things that have worked with you?
Yeah, so I think again, coming to this or having the conversation, which sometimes may be a difficult conversation to have, but I think difficult conversations are sometimes the best to have because they lead to outcomes and even provide additional perspectives that one may not have, which I really appreciate at Hub. Again, is being able to raise a question, raise a thought, raise an opinion. It's not just thrown into thin air. It really like captures, oh, what are we not covering? So again, we have things already in place. We have things that we're compliant with, but what steps can we take additionally? And I think really when it comes to wanting to create cultures that are really inclusive and really foster that well-being piece, again, it goes above, EAP resources and benefits. It's really on how we show in or how we show up day in and day out. So again, just having that conversation, making sure that, there is, if there are goals that the organization wants to reach, how can this aid to get there? How can this support some of the elements that we're already having in place?
Hey, Aldo, quick segue, because I imagine a lot of our listeners are leaning in, they're excited, and it's clear this is going to have a huge impact. But I imagine even in your career, previous companies you worked at, they may not have been set up as well as you've been set up at Hub. What advice would you give them, especially if they're met with resistance early or they're skeptics? What how should they approach?
Yeah, and I think too, this applies just in general when we talk about mental health, is people may have some barriers for X amount of reasons. So those may be cultural differences, background, age. And really it's about one, staying true to yourself and knowing what you believe in and kind of keeping that, not letting any sort of resistance discourage you from trying to make an impact. I think, the more people that there are, kind of driving towards the same end goal is impactful. That doesn't mean that one person can't make an impact as well. So I would say like staying consistent, staying true to yourself, advocating for what you think is right, for what you believe, what your values are, but also having some grace and an open mind around some of the factors that may be causing that resistance.
Is there budget required for this uniquely?
Yeah, so instructors kind of throughout the US vary in pricing, but there is, it's kind of standard materials that need to be covered. So there are also grants that are available for organizations that are looking to bring this in. A lot of organizations also sponsor training for other organizations, which is a really good thing to look at. And again, a lot of these resources can be found in the National Council of Mental Wellbeing's website.
Allison, I'm not an expert in this field, but I know there's something called Health Awareness Month. I wonder how this all connects and gets applied.
Yeah, Elda, we'd love to learn what you're doing in this month specifically. Are you encouraging more employees to go through the training? Are you encouraging more HR professionals to go through the training? How do y'all celebrate this month specifically at Hub?
Yeah, so there are a lot of initiatives. So we are, again, 20,000 employees and we have 6 super regions and 36 regions. So I'm really glad that we have at least one or more now certified mental health first aiders in each region. So they have kind of taken the training, taken what they've learned from it and how they've applied it to celebrate it differently. So we have kind of a wide range of webinars happening this month as well as like in-person activities that other regions are planning now that the weather is getting nicer in some places, to kind of do some of those activities together as a team to promote that culture of wellness and kind of honing in on the importance of mental health and how important it is for everyone to have it at the forefront, even though it may be hard. Again, as I said, I had it in the back burner for a long time, but really being uh, what is the word? having the drive and the initiative to make it a priority, and making sure that that gets the attention that it needs. So again, we do have another cohort happening later this month. So we'll seal off the month by adding more HR professionals to our list of mental health first aiders.
That's great. Do you think other companies could, if they're interested in this or interested in webinars, or really maybe they've never done any kind of mental health awareness month initiative ever? Like, do you have any advice on where to start, how to start, or maybe even kickstart what they want to start doing?
Yeah, so I think education is a really great place to start because, and we may all have different ideas or misconceptions of what this looks like, but even just taking that step to jump on LinkedIn and we can just type in hashtags like Mental Health Awareness Month and see what other companies are doing. Really like leaning on one thing that I really enjoyed from the summit a few months ago was connecting with people from other industries. Um, to kind of leverage like what are you guys doing and kind of sharing and having that collaboration around initiatives that they're working on. So again, it's being inspired. I know you mentioned TikTok earlier. TikTok is now my place where I look at recipes, where I look at like parenting hacks and all these sort of things. So it's really like going on LinkedIn and searching what initiatives can happen, or even reading articles that touch on mental health in the workplace to educate ourselves further.
Oh, that is such a good idea. I will tell you, especially, it must be the people I follow. Almost every single post right now on LinkedIn is about mental health month, and it is my happy place. I'm like, this is the one beautiful social media site that's still wonderful and supportive. And it has been post after post right now. So I feel like anyone listening, I know this is going to come out this month. That's the best place to start. That's such a good recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, again, that's how I've been able to even connect with other mental health first aid instructors is seeing the work that they're doing in their organizations.
Very relevant, very timely. Unfortunately, today we only have a couple of minutes left. So, Allison, I'll let you round it out.
Okay, so Elda, tell us what's next for your MHFA program. Are there plans to expand, after Mental Health Month wraps? What do you think it's going to do? Let's say 5 years out. What does great look like to you?
Yeah, so I think again, definitely expanding the program, getting the training out to as many hands as possible, so that the people that may need it anywhere, in the organization or above, can kind of tap into the resources and really get the help that they need. And the support is really important. But we also do have in the docket a lot of things in play to aid managers as well as peers, and again, just helping leverage the tools and resources and tapping back into the knowing people knowing, not caring how much you know until they know how much you care. So again, it's driving that needle forward. I think while we've made great strides as a society around mental health, there's still a lot of work to do, and it's not a one and done or check this and you're done. It's constantly evolving. With the way that things happen, that life evolves, that society evolves. Again, just driving that momentum forward, continuing to establish additional resources, and again, just getting this training out into more hands.
Oh, what a great callback. Thank you. um, Real quick, we're in corporate security, and we love to close each podcast episode with what does connected intelligence mean to you in your role and what you do every day? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'll tap back into the summit. So at Summit, I met a wide range of people, again, from all walks of life, all types of industries, doing different things. Again, tying back into to corporate security, but the feedback and the just networking that I got from that just kind of helped me like take a moment and say, oh my gosh, it's not just me, it's not just us. We're all driving towards similar goals. So I felt like I connected to a lot of intelligent people at Summit that really helped me kind of broaden my perspective on what can we do differently, what has worked, what can we share that has worked, but also what can I learn from someone else. And I see that at Hub as well. So I mentioned, working very closely with HR professionals outside of our corporate security team is really that collaboration piece. So connected intelligence to me really means finding those areas of collaboration and networking to, strive to make the world a better place. It may sound a bit cliche or corny, but really it's to make the place better, to make the world better.
I want to thank both of my guests today, Allison and Elda. Elda, that was just a beautiful close. Thank you for that. Allison, you did a fantastic job as our co-host and leading the conversation today. And Elda, again, it is so special on a podcast to have a guest with the passion, the drive that you have for this particular initiative and this topic. And thank you for being a pioneer.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you for not just allowing me some time to spend here with you all today, but also just for using the Ontic platform to leverage conversations like this and to, bring awareness to these very important topics. So thank you all.
Thank you all very much. And that is our Ontic Connected Intelligence podcast episode.